Hello, this is Jeff Hartman, and today's question of the day is, why does my inverter read low AC output voltage? Well, here I got a picture of a 12 or 24 volt battery. This could be in a vehicle or in your basement if you want an inverter to run your sump pump, or perhaps a refrigerator or freezer. So here's a typical inverter. I notice this has a power cord on it. So a power cord on an inverter either means it has a transfer switch or it has a battery charger. Now this particular one looks like it's got a battery charger. So some things you can use inverters for. You can run your fans, you can run lights. So if you install one of these in your car or your truck or your van, you could plug into this particular inverter is 1,000 watts. Now keep in mind, there's about a 10-to-1 ratio. So if you're drawing 1,000 watts on the output, on the 12 volt side, you're going to be drawing about 100 amps. So that's, you gotta have decent sized wire. This inverter's got 2-gauge wire, so that's good for about 100 amps. So there's some considerations when you install an inverter. If you want to go with a 2,000 watt inverter, you got to have a couple hundred amps capability. And most alternators on a car will not keep up with that. So your battery will eventually keep coming down as it's supplying that, say, 200 amps for a 2,000 watt inverter. So some people will put an extra battery in, so you have 2 batteries, and that's a possibility. Or a bigger alternator is another way you could do it. But that's another video. I just want to go over, I get questions a lot where people ask, well, how come my meter is reading low? Is my inverter bad? And we'll take a look at that. Now here I have a typical inverter set up, and this is a square wave inverter, or a quasi-wave, or a modified sine wave. There's 3 different terms for the same square wave inverter. People use them interchangeably. Now I have 3 meters hooked up, and on the left meter I've got an AC meter. On the right one I've got an AC meter, and then the far right I've got a DC meter. It's set for DC volts, so I can measure the battery volts. Now here's a close-up shot of the meters. So we have 11 volts on the inverter, 11.06, we'd say 11. We have 119 on the AC out, and we got 107. Now here's what brings the question up. If someone takes this meter and hooks it up to their inverter, and they're getting 107 volts, that kind of makes them think something's wrong, because inverters should be putting out usually 120 volts plus minus 5%, which is 6 volts. So you should be able to go from 114 to 126. But this is at 107, which is way below the 114. So that kind of indicates something's wrong. And let's raise the DC voltage to 12 volts and see what happens. Okay, we're at 119 on the center. And then we're at 98. Ooh, it went from 107 to 98. So it actually gets worse as the voltage goes up. Let's see if we keep that trend. Okay, now we're at 13 volts DC. We've got 119. We've got 92. So it went down even more. There's 14 volts. We've got 121 and 87. And 15 volt, we've got 123 and we've got 84. So what's happening is, on a square wave inverter, this line right here will have to go in and out, because peak to peak will go up as you because you have basically a transformer inside an inverter. So as your DC goes up, your AC will go up proportion to your say it's a 10-to-1 ratio. So as this goes up, you got to bring them in. That's what the circuitry does inside an inverter. So it'll look like this. Maybe not that much movement, but that's what happens, and this is your power. So, because this is going up, peak to peak's going up. So as it goes up, it gets narrower, and that kind of throws off the average meter. This meter here is an average meter, and this one here, it says true RMS. So if you want an accurate reading on a square wave inverter, you have to get a true RMS meter, which they cost a little more. I mean, this meter here is probably 30 bucks. And some with today's technology, and you might be able to find a low-cost meter that has built-in 2RMS. It's possible. It wouldn't surprise me now. So if you have a square wave inverter, you will want to run a true RMS meter when you make checks. Otherwise, you'll get a low reading on the AC output voltage. So the answer is a square wave, quasi-wave, or modified sine wave inverter's AC output will read low on an average reading meter. you will need a true RMS meter to get an accurate AC reading. What's RMS? That's root mean square. That's what RMS stands for, root mean square. I know you had the RMS Titanic. I'm not sure what the RMS Titanic was on, but electrical, RMS means root mean square. So again, this is Jeff Hartman. I hope this video was helpful because it can explain if you have an inverter and you're getting a low output voltage on it with your meter. So if you some of my other sites, I have a washerbearings.com site, and that's for when your washer sounds like a jet plane taking off. You can actually replace your bearings and your seal without having to scrap the machine and buy a new machine, because that's expensive, buy a new machine, plus with financing. If you can get another 5-10 years out of the machine, it would be a good investment to replace your bearings. And it can be done by the homeowner. I've been providing these kits well over 5 years. So if you want to visit my sites, washerbearings.com, check it out. If you have a Maytag Neptune, a Whirlpool Duet, a Kenmore Elite, a Maytag Epic, I have seals and bearing kits for all these machines. So again, thank you. It's Jeff Hartman, question of the day. If you have any questions you'd like to know I can get the answers for, please leave them below. Thank you. Bye-bye.